is truly the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Ebenezer Methodist Church, Ghana. We are located at 5112 Berwyn Road, College Park, Maryland. We are looking forward to be blessed with a great word from God. We are going to dance and fellowship and worship in oneness and in spirit and in awe. Wherever you are joining us from, if you're on Facebook, our handle is EMC Maryland. If you're on Instagram, it is EMC Maryland. And if you're on YouTube, it is channel 5112. Stay tuned and we will worship together. It is truly the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Ebenezer Methodist Church, Ghana. We are located at 5112 Berwyn Road, College Park, Maryland. We are looking forward to be blessed with a great word from God. We are going to dance and fellowship and worship in oneness and in spirit and in awe. Wherever you are joining us from, if you're on Facebook, our handle is EMC Maryland. If you're on Instagram, it is EMC Maryland. And if you're on YouTube, it is channel 5112. Stay tuned and we will worship together.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transformation Hour. Again, my name is Jessica Mills Odway, and you are in for an awesome, great, fun-filled night tonight. So today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be having two special people on the program today, and they're also some of our other hosts of the program as well. I know you guys see me a lot, so I know you're probably tired of seeing me at this point. But here there are some two really special people that are on the program today, and they're two of many hosts that we do have a part of the program, and you'll probably be seeing them a lot more. And as we get started, I just wanted to also let you know that you can follow us at EMC Maryland on Facebook and on Instagram. That's where you can connect with us and hear all the latest update news about all the programs we have, the events that are going on, and also about the different committees that we have, from youth fellowship to men's and women's fellowship to Sunday school, and everything we have going on within the church and our events as well. And you can also follow us, our youth fellowship page at emcmyf.md on Instagram to see all the latest news going on with our youth fellowship group. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce our topic for today, which is going to be perseverance. And today, our special co-host, just like me, is Sister Giovanna Basie Arthur, and also Sister Clara Aldrin that's joining us today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Well, this is your show too, so thank you for coming.
I'll let Sister Clara introduce herself first.
Sure. Let's let's go with that. Hey everyone, my name's Clara. Yeah, I currently work as a project manager in at the healthcare tech space, and I have a background in public health, and most of you probably know me because of my work with the youth and the MYF, but super excited to be here and just discuss what perseverance means to me and kind of what that looks like in everyday life.
Thank you, Sister Clara. My name is Sister Giovanna. I am a recent grad of completing my master's in clinical counseling. So I'm now a licensed graduate professional counselor. And I have a background in mental health and psychology. Also one of the people who are part of the youth team, planning our topics and everything. So I think that's everything, but yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here today. And as we get started, I wanted to just remind everyone that Transformation Hour is a safe space that was created by the youth for the youth, as a space to come build community, come listen and hear testimonies, and also get resources and information. A lot of times, the hardest thing I always say about life is that feeling like you're the only person going through it. And Transformation Hour is here to build community with you, but also give you transparency that life is not as great every day. And we feel it too, even as youth that sometimes look really good on camera and well put together, but we still deal with the challenges and ups and downs of the same things that you all do. And this is just a space for you to hear a little bit about some of the things that we've experienced and we've seen, and some of the lessons we learned along the way. So hopefully, if you've already been through it, you can you can laugh through the pain with the rest of us. And if you're not there yet, you can take the notes needed and know what's up ahead as you come to those challenges. So, and it's also a safe space for you to reach out to us, connect with us. We are on the Washington Circuit, but you can reach out to us through Brother Wood, Sister Mabel, and multiple other people within the Washington Circuit if you want to connect to us, and also reach us on Facebook and Instagram as well. So, and today we're talking about perseverance. So we started the year talking about, planning with God, building a vision, writing it down, making it real, and then executing. And then last week we talked a lot about discipline, being able to stick to that. And then now we come to the part of perseverance. It's we always talk about the beginning part and the part after the perseverance. When we made it, we're good and we're happy. And but this is like the turbulence. Like being on a plane and experiencing the turbulence is the perseverance portion. So I just wanted us to talk a little bit about what is perseverance and what does it mean to us?
That's a really great point in terms of just looking at perseverance from our own perspective, because I think sometimes we get kind of caught up in what perseverance means for other people, or oh, that person is so strong, like they're able to go through X, Y, and Z. I don't think I'd be able to do that. But I think perseverance for me is constantly pushing those boundaries and wanting to constantly improve. I was talking to one of my friends and I was telling them just how I always want to get better at doing something, but especially in the past couple weeks when we've been discussing about discipline, and Brother Wood recently presented during a youth service last week just about being skilled versus unskilled. I was like, I really need to hone in on being skilled and not just kind of coast or be mediocre in whatever it is that I'm doing. And so for me, it's striving for excellence, but then also knowing that you're not going to improve all at once. It's a gradual process to, and you're continuously making iterations to persevere and to endure in different situations. So maybe a way that you reacted to something previously, you're better at handling that and just being able to power through, just emotionally and spiritually as well. So
Yeah, I totally agree with Sister Clara. I liked your analogy of the turbulence, because that's literally what perseverance is. It's when you're in the storm, that's when those skills need to come into action. It's not when everything is peachy keen that, oh, I want to use these skills. It's when you're in that situation that you were scared of, that's when you have to persevere. That's when you have to keep going, because you never know who's counting on you. Even yourself, yourself is counting on yourself, so you just have to keep going. And it definitely, we never talk about what we went through to get to the point. We always just talk about, oh, I set my goals and I got to this part, but what did I go through in between that? We're always especially we're in grad season, so we're always talking about, oh, congratulations grad. What did the grad go through? Moments of all-nighters, breakdowns, all this different stuff. Like we don't talk about it, but like, oh, congratulations, grad! Like you did it. Like please give the grad the accolades because you really don't know what they went through in between that. Like definitely, the struggles are real.
That's true.
That's so true. And it's like, you guys are so right because a lot of times it's like, I feel like, I was telling my friend this the other day, like, I feel like life is a test. And all the way from birth up until like your mid 20s, you're learning, like, you're training. So, and I was my cousin that we were having this conversation with on Saturday. So it's like by the time you get to your mid 20s and beyond, that's when you really start to step into your purpose and the path that God has put you on. And the beginning part is just training. Like that stuff that you thought was serious, by the time you get to 25, that was not even the serious part. You're like, and then you think about other stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm tired already. But it's like, it's one of those things where you're training. And like you said, Sister Giovanna, none of that stuff comes into effect when you're just chilling and everything's cool. Like you learned hand-to-hand combat, so when it's time to fight, you ready to go. Like you're like what Angelina Jolie in that Salt movie when she was like jumping off the cars and stuff. But it's so true because I feel like when you feel turbulence, just imagine people in a plane. What's the first thing they do when they feel turbulence? Panic.
Yeah.
Panic. You're like, you're like, reach under the seat. You don't even know what to do. You just start panicking. And a lot of times we don't even realize that we're so prepared for this that it takes us a minute for us to sit and just go before we realize we have all the tools that we need to get through it. So even as you think about college, when I now I can laugh back on those college days. When I tell you I cried, oh my God. I would cry. I would go to sleep every night just crying, like, Lord, I don't even want this degree. My mom would be like, almost done. I said, I don't know about this.
They can have it. They can have all. No, I had my moments in grad school too. I had like breakdowns, and I'm not a crier, so I would break down, and I would just be like, I can't do this anymore. You can have it, and even imposter syndrome. Like, do I even belong here? Like, is this? And God is literally like, I put you here for a reason, so you better like shape up, like get it together. But like, I was like, I can't do this. I can't. And then, like, even the fear of what is to come, and then you're in the moment, and you're like, "Oh, that wasn't so bad. We made it through, right?" I'm still mentally sane. It's like, and I was talking to my roommate the other day, and just talking about like perseverance. Imagine, like, you're just talking about like in our mid 20s, like. Imagine our parents who are having us around this age, and a lot of us haven't had kids yet, and we're just like coming home after work or school or something, and you have to deal with the kids. It's like literally our parents are all stars, superstars, because I don't know if I could deal with the kid after coming home from whatever I'm doing. I think I could do it right now.
It was so funny because when you said that, I saw somebody post something on Twitter. She was like, I feel guilty, but I thank God I'm kidless. I said, you know what? The way life has been going these
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
But that's just the funny part of adulting. It's like one of the many things like you go through as you adult. And it's just like perseverance, like it's funny because Drake, what is that Drake song is like laugh now, cry later, but I feel like it's more of like cry now, laugh later. Laugh now. We're all laughing. It's
Right.
cute, but before it was Lord Jesus, I pray to you today. Like so it's there's so much that comes with perseverance. And I think even when we look at our own experiences, like how, because I want people to know that, part of perseverance is you get to a point where it's like you get to a bridge and then you can't see below, but God already told you that you're going to make it. But it's that moment of
Do I want to cross this bridge?
that that's where like that faith kicks in, and faith is where you're jumping off the ledge trusting that your feet are going to catch you even though you can't see the ground. And like as we joke now about some of the things that we've gone through, but what is a big moment in your life that you felt like you had really gone through a moment of perseverance where at the end you sat down and you're like whether that was college, that was pre-college, that was after college, what were some of those When was that moment for you? And what was some of the things that led up to you that taught you what you needed to do to get ready for that fight?
That's a good question. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is my thesis. Literally, the amount of tears that I cried, I uncountable. And like, because I'm like, I know like I'm gonna get through this because God has gotten me through stuff before, but I was like, man, this one, it's just not going anywhere. Like, I'm trying to come up with stuff, like I'm trying to use different what is it even called? SPSS to try and analyze data, and the professor just keeps saying your thing is wrong, your thing is wrong, and I'm just like, what part of it is wrong? Like, help me. And just having I think also just having like a support system and friends to also encourage you. So one of my friends had driven down from Baltimore, and she just accompanied me for like a little bit and then just helped me like organize my thoughts. And even just like that small gesture really helped a lot. But sometimes it's like you don't have that support system. What do you do then? And I think it's drawing on the experiences of what you've already gone through. Like God has shown himself to be faithful and true. And so you can remind yourself of those instances. Like it's not the exact same scenario, but we know God's track record is he's always going to be there on time. Like I really asked God, I'm like, is there a way that I can do something else? Do I have to write a paper? Because writing is not one of my strong suits. I'm like, can I do a presentation instead? Can I can I do anything else except for write this paper? And it's funny because like previously there had been opportunities where it's like, okay, like you don't have to write this paper, you can do something else. And I'm like, oh, like maybe this is what's going to happen again. But this time God was like, no, you have to go through it. And so I was like, it was a struggle. When I finally presented, like right before I presented, I broke down and cried in my professor's office. And then I had to like get myself together, present, and then I was just like done and I just like slept. But then looking back on it, I can like laugh and I can joke about it. And it's like, even though it was stressful and things like that, like God still showed himself faithful. And even towards the end, I thought my presentation was trash. But like the professors were like, "Oh, you did a good job" and stuff. I'm like, "I no, I didn't. No." But I'm like, "I'll take it." So that's like the first thing that comes to my mind.
Um, I don't know if I have any, and it was funny that you said like what prepares you. I honestly, I don't even think that I have any like war tools when I go into these moments. It's kind of just like, oh, we're experiencing it. And it kind of brings me into the thought of, I've been talking to a lot of people about this, like how we always say, we always ask God for like patience, or we ask God for this, or we ask God for this. And it's like, he's not just going to hand it to you and say, okay, I may take it. He's going to put you in a situation where you're going to learn it and you're going to use it. So I feel like that's how my life has been, where I've been praying for patience for a while. And literally, he just keeps putting me in little situations that are just like, I'm testing your patience. I'm testing your patience. And it's like, okay, God, I'm going to pass this one. I'm going to pass this one this time. So it's like, I'm going to do it. So it's just like been little moments since I started college, like getting out of my comfort zone and kind of just testing my patience. And it's just all a part of growth as a person. It's part of the journey. So like it's definitely after the situation has happened where I reflect and I'm like, oh, it was one of God's tests. I think I passed that one. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're so right. Now that I've caught on to what it is, I feel like, do I want to ask for that right now? Am I ready to go back in for round three? No, but it's so true because it's like sometimes you ask for stuff and you get to a point where you're so spiritually aware that you realize that it's coming to you in the form of this. Like you never get to, you can ask for it, but you never get to choose how it comes to you. And so when you're really awake and you're spiritually aware, even blessings, like sometimes you ask for a blessing and it comes to you in an unusual way, in a way that you didn't think it was going to come. And then you kind of second guess or you don't even think anything of it until it's at the end. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't really put two and two together up until this time. So it's funny that you said that, because sometimes I'll be looking at God like, but like Sister Clara said, like he's like, nope,
This is what we're doing.
here, or you can go.
It's funny. I like when people are like, "Oh, you talk to God." I talk to God like conversationally, like how I would talk to my friends. Like if that's what it is, like that's what my prayers are. Like it's conversational. Like I'm like, God, I know I haven't talked to you like a lot today, but and it's just conversational. And it's just like sometimes it's comforting to like just talk to Him in the way that you know how to talk to Him. I had another thought, but it's gone now. But yeah, like it's just like that's how it is. Like you don't realize, and then you're in that situation, and you're just like, oh, I see.
Like one of the hardest things I really went through in life, and it's kind of crazy because I don't even tell a lot of people the story, but when I was in college, it was my senior year. I was on my way to summer school. I was a double major, so I was taking like 6 classes over summer just so I could graduate. And I got into this bad car accident, and I didn't realize how bad it was until like it was time to go to school, because I was in physical therapy, and I was like, I told my school, I was like, I don't know if I can come, or like, can you accommodate me? And they were just like, well, because I was taking two majors and I was taking 6 classes a day. So they're like hard to accommodate. They're like, we can do the best we can, but either you might have to just, sit this out, or like push it through. And I ended up pushing through, but it was like when I thought college was hard, but that last year was like I never even talk about my college experience that much because it was a great experience, but it was such a traumatizing experience at the same time. Like dealing with like the regular things of like a young adult, and like going to physical therapy 3 times a week, and then like school, like it was so hard. Like I had to have like surgery, like, and I was out of state, and there was like so many things going on. I would just cry. I was like, I was really going through it, man. And I was like, God, please. And this is like, I spoke about this before, like, but I took a step outside of the church just because I really needed to like find my own footing and then find my way to have my own relationship with God. So that was like around the time I was kind of like trying to get back with God, and I was like, I cried for 3 days. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I was like, there was a day I woke up, I couldn't walk. All my roommates went to brunch. I got up out of my bed. When I tell you, as soon as like my foot hit the floor, I just fell. And like, it was like 9 o'clock on like a Saturday or Sunday morning. Everybody in all the houses around us were asleep. I was like, you can't call for help. I was like, my phone was halfway across the room, and I just started crying. And then something in my head, God was like, get up and crawl. He was like, you're not helpless. Your hands work fine. Get up. And I just started crawling, and I was like, this is crazy. And then had to be like 30, 40 minutes later, like my legs started working again. I just couldn't even get up. I was just crying. I was like, man, that's when I started reading my Bible again. I said, well, God, why did I believe you? I mean, like I said, I laugh now, but that was a crazy experience back then. But it was just like when you think about perseverance, and even to what you were saying, how sometimes like you don't even know that you're prepared, but there's so many things that God has given you in terms of like just pure wisdom and physicality that in your time of need, you can reach in the deepest depths of your mind and your spirit and pull that, and you will be just fine. You will be just fine. And it's like, it's such a hard thing for me to even talk about, just because like that's only like a quarter of the story. Like the rest of the story is just crazy. But it's like when I graduated, I was like, man, all I could think was God. All I thought about was God. So even when Brother Emmanuel was like, you want to come back to church? I was like, yes. I was like, you don't have to ask me, I'm already here. But like, it was like one of those things where like, when you talk about perseverance, it's not even so much about what you're going through, it's about like how you respond. And that's where you get a lot of those lessons. That's where the lesson of perseverance comes from. It's the lesson of response, whether that's spiritually responding, physically responding, emotionally responding. It builds, and that's what perseverance builds, character. So now like Sister Claire and I had this conversation like months ago where we were talking about what you don't really realize is everything you experience in life, you've already experienced it before.
Yeah.
You face the same problem multiple times over, but it just comes to you in a different form, whether it's a different person, it's a different situation. And the true test of life is that God is testing you from birth to 25, whatever. When I was teaching you those lessons, were you paying attention? Were you self-aware enough that you caught that patience I was trying to show you when I gave you that test? Did you catch that wisdom? Because you asked me for wisdom, but I already gave it to you 3 months ago. You need to ask me how to use it at this point. So it's like, did I take inventory of what I have? Do I know how to use what I have? And it's even at the point where now I'm like, I don't even ask for God for wisdom. I'm like, show me how to use the wisdom you already gave me. Or show me how to give me something by me teaching somebody else. Because a lot of times you learn stuff that way too. But that was like a long rant, and I didn't mean to go too long. But guys, don't be sad. I'm okay now. I can walk again. I'm all right.
Thank God.
But like it's just one of those things where people always wonder like how do I and it's people like how do I get strong because they talk about like, strong black women, how can I be strong, how can I be smart, how can I be, you know, spiritually aware, but all of that happens by doing
Yeah.
and by living and being unafraid to take the challenge, which means having faith enough to jump because you're gonna be okay. You're not gonna die. You're gonna be okay. And I think that's like the biggest hurdle. Like I was saying the other day, like we get a lot of people doing New Year's resolutions and we lose people along the way. Whether it's through discipline, you lose people, or you lose them in perseverance. Whenever there's a challenge or what's it called? Dissonance.
Yeah.
That's when you start to lose people. So that was my long rant. I'm sorry, I put like 3 topics points together. But what are some times that you felt dissonance during your whatever you're dealing with, and how did you overcome that?
Um, there's always that situation of dissonance. Me personally, those New Year's resolutions, I stopped them when I at a certain point I was just like, it's not gonna happen. It's not. So let's just leave it alone. I would write my goals and stuff and kind of just let it happen. Like you were saying, you just live life and let things happen because like I don't know, I'm not a sometimes I'm not very consistent with certain things, but like when I like it's like when you're like, oh, I'm on a diet, that's when you always mess up. What for me, it's like I'll just be eating healthy on accident and it's just happened. So like there's always that moment of dissonance where like, when I first started school, going to PWI, after living in PG all my life, I was like, well, people, you guys, there's a lot of you guys here. And I was just like, and literally, I would want to go home every weekend. I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I wasn't getting along with my roommates. They were very strange. And I was just like, okay, what's going on? So it's just that moment of this is like, I'm shaping you for something. Even by the time I got to my senior year, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And then it was my supervisor. He was like, oh, apply to this school. It was the only school that I got into. At that point, I was like, okay, yeah, he's placing you where he wants you to be. And even the people that I met, it's just like, yeah, I put that person in your life for a reason. Like, though all those kind of things, it's kind of just like, it keeps pushing you to go on. And it's like, and you don't even, and then even like when you're done and the people who just come out and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm so proud of you, I look up to you, it's like, wow, so you guys are like really watching me the whole time that I've been doing that. Like even when I finished undergrad and stuff like that, and just hearing some of like my younger cousins and stuff like that just be like, oh, like Gio, I'm so proud of you, like I look up to you, and it's like, wow, like I'm really like motivating you guys, like it's really good. Like so sometimes you just have to remember that you're not only doing it for yourself. And that's another thing that like we have to understand too, like when we talk about like spiritual gifts and stuff like that, how they're not for us, they're for other people. I feel like there are a lot of stories and stuff and lessons that we can teach to other people. Like we shouldn't just take our experiences and go, like we need to like teach, because like you said, we're helping people to prepare for those situations when they get there. So like literally, like if anybody knows that, like if I have a story to share, I'm going to share it, or any tips or anything, because I don't want you to go through the same sort of struggle that I want you, what you went through, but I also want you to experience it so you can understand. But like I'm going to give you some tips to get through it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got it.
I guess just to kind of add on, it reminds me of just like the analogy of always being like refined, or like when you put gold or even like coal into fire, like all the extra like impurities and things, they just kind of fade away over time. And it's like with perseverance, it's like that. I really like how you put that you gain that perseverance through doing. For myself, I was always looking for like a formula or something like I have to do X, Y, and Z. I have to take these steps in order to be closer to God. I need to take these steps in order to grow in my career. And it's like life is not like that. Like life is not linear in any way, shape, or form. There's all kinds of like ups and downs. And I think seizing every opportunity to learn and then also apply is so like critical. And I know we're not always going to do that, but thinking of it in like the like in like spiritual life and things like that, especially like wanting to grow in God and persevere in your relationship with God, where it's like sometimes you feel like it's kind of stagnant or stale. And I felt like it was kind of like that for me for some time, where it's like I'm asking God, like I want to grow in character and things like that, and it just seems like it's just flat or like a plateau. And then it's like what you were saying, Sister Jessica, keeping your eyes and like your ears open for those experiences and those moments where he's like, here's something new to try and like test you and to build your character. And I feel like that's what they call sanctification. Like, yes, we're made perfect in Christ. Yes, we're spotless and blameless, but we're going through this life to become more and more Christ-like, and that's not an overnight process. If a coworker or something is annoying you, that's an opportunity to show love or patience. If um, a family member is going through a difficult time, like that's an opportunity for you to show compassion, or something that maybe you're not practicing regularly, but it's an opportunity for you to step out and allow God to not only use you, but to build that within you. So,
Something that Sister Clara said just kind of sparked something in my head. Like, doing Bible study, a lot of times through like the New Testament, like I've been doing Romans and stuff, and how a lot of it talks about perseverance and like how our reward is with the Lord. And it wasn't until I started getting into adulting that I was like, okay, yeah, I understand your struggle. I know what you're talking about now. Because it's like literally like I think I was talking about this like a couple months ago, where I was like, you just like on this journey, you just want to take a seat. Just want to take a seat and just be like, God, just give me a second, okay? Because it's like too much. Like it just keeps coming at you, coming at you, coming at you, and you don't even realize that when like that was the other thought that I had, was like when you say, God, like I'm ready. Were you really ready for what he was going to give you? Because now you're in it and you're like, okay, God, give me a second. So it's just like literally those verses are like a fresh breath of fresh air, because it's like what you're going through, no one else has. It's not only you that's going through it. Like everybody has been going through it from the beginning of time. So you just have to keep persevering. Like your gift is with the Lord, and I'm waiting for that gift. So yeah, it's literally, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, like, also what you said, even for me, what really brought me back to God and spirituality during like my pause moment was, as you said, like when we were talking about being self-aware and realizing who God is bringing to you and what he's bringing to you, like during that time when I was really going through it, I would ask God for things. I'm like, oh, it's not coming, like you're not helping me, it's not here. But then I didn't even realize that he had sent people to me that brought those things to me, that gave me those things. So through that I really became more self-aware that when I ask for something, it doesn't necessarily have to come in a something specific, but it could be somebody who he sends to you to bless you or to support you or carry you through this journey or help you and show you the right things in here. Like, it's so funny because it's like so many doors that just magically opened for me just when I asked was like, if I knew this, I would have asked a long time ago. It's just like one of those things when, like, once you start to really trust God, you'll notice that when you ask, it comes immediately. there's no pause, and if there is a pause, there's a good reason for the pause. And to like what you said, like you never realize that your life is a living testimony for other people. Like I remember I was a marketing manager and I was working at a nonprofit and there was this one girl and I went out of my way to train everybody, help everybody, and when I was leaving, she wrote me this long message was like, you taught me how to stand up for myself, you taught me how to grow as a person, you taught me how to like validate myself. And I was like, but is that me? And it's so funny because like all the things that God has blessed me with was like you said, like I never want people to go through the things I went through. So anybody, whether it was her or anybody, I always tell them things I've learned at work or things I've gone through, things I've experienced, not even knowing that you're giving somebody a testimony that's preparing them for their challenge. And it's amazing. That's why it's so important to build community and it's so important to communicate. I think in the African community, it's I don't I don't want to say it's like a pride thing, but it's we also push the agenda of you don't want to tell anybody anything and you don't want anybody knowing anything. But I would say as a young person, a lot of the success I've had was because I was building community with people and telling people things and talking to people, whether it's about money and how to negotiate for jobs, or it's like, oh my gosh, how do you fill out this W-4 thing that they give you on board so you don't get paying all the lesson learned, lesson learned. But it's like, man, if I had said something to somebody, they probably would have told me the right answer early on. And a lot of times, whether it's pride or ego, or we just don't want people to know we're struggling, sometimes, like, that's why they always say teamwork makes the dream work. You're more likely to succeed with others than you are by yourself. That's why God brought all these people to you. That's why when you pray, He brings them to you. You're supposed to build community, and that's where your success lies. That person could hold the key to what you've been waiting for 5 years, but you didn't say nothing. So what now? Are you just gonna sit here together? God is like,
That is something that I literally had to learn the hard way because me, like, and I also think our parents kind of like start that cycle in us. Like we see our parents doing everything by themselves, like especially my mom, like independent woman, mover shaker, like always doing the so like as I've gotten older, I always feel like I have to do things for myself when I'm in my struggle. And already people think, oh, Gio is put together, she knows how to do everything. And so it's so hard for me to like literally humble myself and just say, I need help. I need help and I need you to help me. And so that's something that I've also had to learn the hard way. Like even with my sister or my mom, I don't even want to ask them for help. And that's my family, that's my blood. They're gonna be out to help me. And it's just like to open my mouth and say, Mommy, I need help. And because I'm even scared of what she'll say or like how I'll feel about it. But it's just literally like I put this family around you, those friends around you for a reason. Like, open your mouth and say something. You can't do it by yourself. So yeah, definitely something that I've realized the hard way. Like you can't do it by yourself, especially as African women, strong African women. Me also being a fancy woman, and being like the way that I am is so hard. It's like you feel like you're not that strong black woman that you've made up in your head when you humble yourself to ask for help. But like all of these resources are here for you for that reason.
That's very
"Hmm, very true." And even like, I used to not even talk to people a lot about anything. I shouldn't say that, but I was just always like one of those people where I'd struggle by myself and then I can tell you about it. Versus now I'm learning that as I'm struggling, I can call people and it's not, I don't even want to say I was embarrassed, but like I've always been the strong friend. I've always been the put together friend. I've always been the friend that figured it out. So now the friend that always has it figured out and everyone always asks you for advice or you for help, if I have to ask them for help, then who's that person in this dynamic? But it's also like we're ever changing. Like every day you're a different version of yourself. Some days you're vulnerable, some days you're strong, some days you're quiet, some days you're loud. And that's what I'm starting to even understand more because for the longest time, I feel like people have had this image of me being perfect, but it's never something I tried to portray. It's just, I just never really said much of anything. So whatever people assume or they think, that wasn't really based off anything I said. but it's just like this image that sometimes people build about you just because you do come off well put together. You don't come when your hair is messed up and you look crazy, like your work, you do good work, you're known for, all the good things you do, and you just never have a down moment. And I think for me, I'm not really the type, I don't cry, so you'd never see me cry in public. So it's like some things like that, that's just me, but just learning how to be vulnerable with like family, friends, and even as you're getting to know somebody like, romantic and stuff like that, like learning you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to be superwoman all the time. And like you said, it's a cultural thing. It's something that we've watched every woman in our family do. It's something that we've ourselves, even though we're still young, we've just been doing so long. It's like breaking the habit sometimes. It's hard. Like I asked for help the other day and they turned around and I was like, they turned back around and saw my face. I was like, because I was just mortified, like, oh my gosh, we gotta just ask for help. Oh, wait for the response. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's such a weird thing for me, even at this point, that sometimes like even though I have humbled myself, sometimes I takes me a minute to ask for help, but I really try and put the effort forth and ask for it because I feel like God is one of those people, you use it or you lose it. You don't want these people? Well, now they're busy. You don't want this help? Oh, now it's unavailable. So just even learning how to be accepting of the resources you have. We fight so hard for resources that we don't use. Why is that?
Yeah, wow, that's very, very true.
And I think that's a part of perseverance is the breakdown, like that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, like where you're down on you just start crying and you break down. I think that's a part of perseverance. I feel like if you don't hit that, are you really persevering? Are you doing it right? Because I think, and I think we talked about this during the mental health talk too. Like, it's okay to not be okay. I feel like, especially with like our social media age, where everybody's like, "Oh, I'm taking pictures and my life looks perfect." Do you really know what's going on behind the scenes with that, or what even behind the scenes is going on with that picture? Like, I feel like we should be able to like show that it's okay to not be okay, because that's the first step to asking for help, getting the help that you need and the resources.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because Instagram started as like a page just to share regular pictures. And now it's become a page of like edited pictures and this and that. And that's not what it originally started out to be. And to the point where now people just get scared to just post a regular picture. And I'm happy to be regular. I'm excited to be regular. All this concealer every day, it's cute. I can't do that every day. It's hot, 90 degrees outside, guys. I'm like, I want to be regular. I like Ritas and doing regular stuff. So, yeah.
Yes. Amen. But yeah, definitely something that has been, I feel like something that we definitely need to talk about, because I think during this pandemic, a lot of people had to, like being home with yourself, you had to face yourself. And I think we talked about this too, like, you're always on the go, always on the go. And then finally, God was like, okay, stay inside. Now you face yourself. And I feel like that's when a lot of divorces were happening, a lot of self journey was happening and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, like literally face yourself. Like it's all a part of the process of life. So definitely this conversation was definitely dead.
And I think that, I guess to your point, that sometimes we use busyness as a way to distract ourselves from what we need to work on, like within. If we can always say that we're busy,
Yeah.
like society values being busy or being productive, not necessarily the character behind that. I mean, look at all these successful people. Just learned that Bill Gates was in an affair with some other employee woman, and that's maybe part of why they were divorced and stuff like that. Everyone values what he's built at Microsoft, but then at the end of the day, like, what happened with the character? And like looking back and seeing, like, are we able to reflect and take a step back and see what is filling and occupying our time to really put into perspective what matters? And I think just building that character, which includes perseverance, is so vital and key. Because, I mean, it doesn't take much to be busy. It doesn't take I wouldn't say it doesn't take much effort, but I think it takes less effort than constantly asking God to reveal parts of yourself that really need to be transformed and renewed, and to give that perseverance of like, I do want to build this Christ-like character. I don't just want to give up, like whenever somebody pisses you off, just to like go off on them, or whenever somebody is like trying to push your boundaries for whatever thing, just to kind of like go into yourself and not be assertive, or to have the boundaries and the standards that you have for yourself. And so, yeah, it's yeah, it's a process.
Mm, very true. I feel like you can't run from life and you can't cheat God. Oh, because you
You can't.
might, but trust me, it's coming back around to you. And it's so true. Perseverance, it's the hard thing. I think discipline and perseverance are the things that a lot of people don't even tell you about or talk about. Like we say, you see the beginning part and you see the ending part. And that's why it's funny to me because like everyone glamorizes entrepreneurship and being a boss. If you know what being a boss means, you know what taxes 4 times a year means, if you know what really running operations and building success literally from the ground up, I think people would have just a different idea of discipline and perseverance. And that's just one of many things where I think as we start to have real conversations, we really start to put a whole picture behind a lot of things that we see or we think we know, which really in turn gives us the information and the resources to be able to take those challenges head on, whether that's you getting the information before it happens to you or you learn from it so you can pass it on to somebody else. When Sisters Geo, you said that, I don't know why it made me think of Ned's Declassified when he used to like have the book. That's what I think about adulting all the time. It's like, man, I should write a book on like all the things I've learned because you'd be surprised by the things, the little things that you learn along the way. But like we said, like perseverance is a part of the journey and it's fun when you can laugh about it. When you can laugh about it. But as you go through it, that's like when God is really holding your feet to the fire and you can't cheat God and you can't cheat the lesson and you can't cheat the test and you can't cheat the testimony. And it's something that I want all of us to talk more about. Every circuit, every age level, like there's so many things that we all go through that, like I say, life is only harder when you feel like you're by yourself. Once you realize we're all struggling together, what did you learn? Well, this is what I figured out today. How about you? Or how's your day going? Do you feel good? Do you feel up? Are you feeling down? I feel up today, so I can support you today, and you can support me tomorrow when I feel down. So when we start really having those real conversations, I think we would really be surprised how much we can accomplish and succeed. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about perseverance. But
And it's not fearing those experiences. Like, kind of just have to, like, because if you live your life in fear, like, are you really living your life? You kind of just have to experience those things, and it's like you're gonna get through it. It's gonna be hard, but you're gonna get through it. You would be surprised at what God has equipped you with to get through the situation. Like, you're like, and that's another thing that we should like stop doing. Like when we're in those situations, is God, why me? Or instead, ask, what am I learning? What are you trying to teach me in the situation? Or what am I learning? And my sister said that to me the other day, and I was like, I know I always say that, but now you saying that is like, oh, okay. But yeah, like, what am I learning from the situation? Or even when people leave our lives and you were so close to them, even family members and stuff like that, what did that person teach me instead of being so down on their leaving my life? Like, what can I learn from that person? Yep.
hmm, it's, I don't know if you guys remember back, but Asofo was doing the Who Am I when we were all upstairs. And he was like talking about how you have a soul, a mind, and a body, and how they communicate with each other. And it just made me think like whenever we talk about fear, it's about being limited. Our mind is limitless. That's why you're able to dream and believe anything is possible. But the body's limited. So a lot of times now, like whenever I feel fear or I feel like I can't do it, I realize that that's my body responding, that's not my mind responding. So then if I let my mind lead the way, I wouldn't be so afraid. my body's scared to fall, scared to trip. I was even thinking the other day, like if I hit the wall, like when you hit your arm as you walk by or something, the first thing you say is ow, because your body told you it hurt. But if your mind told you it doesn't hurt, you're okay. Would you say ow? I haven't tested it out yet. I'm just, you guys are like my guinea pig.
Look at little kids, you know how little kids, they make that big fall, and everybody around, and they look around for like people's reaction. And it's when their mom or dad says, "Oh no," that's when they react. Like I've seen a kid who's fall down, they didn't do anything, and then their mom and dad are like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" That's when they start crying. And it's learned. It's literally learned. It's like because of other people's reactions, that's why I'm gonna react that way. And it's like that's and you were saying something about reactions, and I remembered something that like life is someone said that life is 80% what happens to you and 20% how you react. And literally as you get older, you have to learn to like react less, especially like to certain people. Like certain people want your reaction. It's like, no, I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. You don't deserve my emotions today. I'm not going to let you have control over my emotions. And that is also something that I really like to teach people, because like once you want to let one little person in this world have power over your emotions, no thank you. And it takes time to learn that. I'm still on that journey myself.
Exactly. I always tell, I know it's almost time for us to wrap up, but like I just want to say this quick point and then you guys can say your closings. But I always feel like people always say you don't react, or like you don't get angry quick, or you're not quick to react. And something I've really learned over time, like my dad really taught me, is that like you just said, you can't give like you you have to give consent for someone to be able to move you out of character. And what that is, you have to think about it. It's control and it's power. And that's where like people who are narcissists and you hear things like that, and people who are manipulative, those people realized to get you to do what I want you to do, I don't have to tell you, I can make you by moving you, pushing your energy, or making you feel some type of way. And that's why a lot of times I always say a lot of things that people do is not about me, has nothing to do with me. So a lot of times if you ask people why, it's more so about them projecting onto you, whether it's insecurities or anything of that sort. So I give this to people who, because that's a gem right there. We got to put a pin in that and clip that for the gram. But it's really so that how you really go about that is if someone does something to you where you're angry or you're sad or you want to retaliate or you want to respond, just give yourself a little bit of grace and ask yourself, why are you angry? Because a lot of times it's out of ego and pride. They hurt my feelings. They didn't acknowledge me. They didn't validate me. But if God validates you and you validate yourself, what do you need them to validate you for? If you know who you are, what does it matter what they say or what they think? Once you take emotion out of it, you realize that you don't have to give power away if you don't want to. People can only make you feel how you let them feel, how you let them. And people only, that's why you gotta watch some people, because some people do stuff to some people and not do it to other people because they know we don't play reindeer games over here. So it's one of those things where you learn over time, but you learn by doing, and you learn by having experience. And you learn over time to also be vocal in your stance and hold your boundaries so you don't give people that power over you, that ability to move you out of character, move you into a place you don't want to be, move you to be belittled. You always have the power. It doesn't matter if you're the employee and they're the boss, that's the mom and you're the child, that's the friend and maybe you're not the outspoken friend. You always have the power. And it's so funny that you said that. Sorry, I'm running out of time. But on you version this morning, dang, now my phone wants to act up. On you version this morning, when I was doing Bible study and devotion, it was saying you cannot control what other people do to you. You cannot control what other people do to you. You cannot control what other people do around you, but you can control how you respond. So I was like, when you said that, I said, oh, I can't believe she said that. That was on there this morning. And it also says, don't let pride be your guide, which allows you to maintain control within yourself and everything that you do, especially in spirituality as well. You guys, if there's anything else you want to say or you want to leave people with positive parting words, go right ahead.
Uh, Not really. I mean, I feel like we've really covered a array of topics and just how they kind of all tie into perseverance. Like it's builds on top of each other. And so don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. Just know that it's a continuous process and that God is always going to have your back. And you have a community, of course, like us, the MYF is here praying for you, supporting you, your parents, I'm sure your friends and everything. So just keep on keeping on. So, yeah.
Amen. Amen to that.
All I have to say is let go and let God. When you let Him take control, then that's when things really get started.
Amen.
But also, as we're about to head out and do a closing prayer, I wanted to give um, oops, where is this? Okay, Psalm 107:9. It says, "For he satisfied the longing soul, and the hungry soul he fills with good things."
Mhm.
And then Proverbs 4:25 to 26 says, "Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure."
Mhm.
So thank you everyone for joining us for Transformation Hour today. Everyone on YouTube, on channel 5112, everyone on Facebook at EMC Maryland, and everyone on Zoom with us right now. We are so very grateful and thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for our co-host, Sister Giovanna, that was able to join us, Sister Clara. Hopefully I can finesse them to be on more often, guys. I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna try and I'll put the schedule together, so don't you worry. We're gonna make it happen. But thank you guys for being here today. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And honestly, like today went a little bit longer, but the messaging and the gems and the great testimonies that we had to give were so important a part of today's lesson. And I'm so happy that we were able to put that together. So anybody that's on today, I hope you were able to take something positive and great out of the message today. And like we always say, Transformation Hour is a safe space for you to build community, hear testimonies, get resources, and learn about what's going on in other people's lives, because it's probably the same thing that's going on in yours. And also, if you are someone that's working or looking for a church, we are EMC Maryland, Ebenezer Methodist Church, located in College Park. You can reach us on Facebook at EMC Maryland. You can also reach us on Instagram if you'd like to connect. And in addition, if you're somebody who was like me a few years ago in your waiting period or just trying to get reacclimated with your relationship with God, it's what I can tell you is it starts with one conversation. And one conversation will take you to two conversations will take you three, and three will take you to talking to God 10 times a day, because Lord knows He knows He's tired of me sometimes. So, but it all starts with little steps, and there's no such thing as a perfect Christian. Just because you're a Christian, every day you wake up, you have to choose to walk with Christ. You choose to walk with God. You choose to bring Him into your life and be the guiding light in everything you do. There's no such thing as a perfect Christian. We're all flawed. Some days we're up, some days we're down. Hey, sometimes you go through things and you have to repent, and that's okay too, because we've all been there and we go through that on a daily basis. So if you're working to connect to God and build a relationship, please know that it starts with one prayer, it starts with one devotional, it starts with one gospel song if that's how you connect, and it starts with one conversation. And that's just how you build from there. So thank you for joining us today. I would like to say closing prayer as you guys are getting ready to close out, but okay. So dear God, thank you for bringing us all here today. We thank you for the amazing way that you were able to use us and work through us. We pray that everyone who's been listening on every platform was able to take something, just one thing today, that they can apply to their own life and they can pass on to others. And if all they did was laugh today, well, they were laughing with us because we were crying before. And we thank you so much for carrying us through all of these testimonies that we can now give to people. We thank you for building character within us, showing us about discipline and building perseverance. We thank you for always being there to support and carry us and allowing us to have faith to jump without looking, because we know you will never let us down. Dear Lord, we pray that we continue to be good stewards inside and outside of the church. And if there's anyone looking to connect and build a relationship with you, we pray that you extend your healing hands and your open heart and the love of Christ onto them, so they know that there's space for them everywhere that you are, because you shine even in the darkest places. In Jesus' name, we thank you for today and allowing us to use this platform. And we pray that next week you can come back and help us do it again so we can empower and touch even more young people on this line. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Sorry, guys. They see, that's how you know I'm getting old. I have to put a timer to remind myself to get ready for bed. But thank you guys for joining today, and we hope that you're able to join us next week for our prayer discussion on perseverance, so we can hear some of your testimonies as well.